Hi, I'm Juanita and welcome back to the Knit Guru. As some of you may know, I am currently off work with a head injury. So what else is there for me to do other than to respond to a crochet tag? To be honest, I hadn't actually twigged to the fact that I'd been tagged in a crochet tag because I generally check my notifications on my phone. Then I checked just last week and there was the notification on my computer and I was like, oh, that's so sweet. So the Totally Fierce Crochet channel tagged me in a video, which I thought very cool. I will answer the 10 questions for my crochet journey and I will pass it on to 4 other people. And I'm going to expand it a little bit and talk about my knitting journey as well, because I've done a lot more knitting than I've done crochet over the years. And hopefully this will be slightly entertaining, despite the fact that I am still struggling a bit with this head injury, but I'm way better than I was, so I'm okay. Okay, so the 10 questions. The first one here is said, how did you learn to crochet? So how did I learn to crochet? It's worth noting that I learned to knit when I was 3. And my birthday's coming up, and I think I turned 48. Maybe I turned 47. Somewhere around that age group. I need to Google it because unless it's like a big round number, I lose track. So yeah, I put it down to being old. So I learned to knit when I was 3 because it saved my mother a little bit of a hassle because my younger sister was quite a sick baby and my father got really sick at that point. So she taught me to knit and sat me down in front of Days of Our Lives, which was a soap opera back in the day. And I guess maybe it still runs. And I just sat there and knit. So I have no memory of learning to knit, which is quite good really, because people tell me it's hard. I don't think it's hard because it's just something that I've always done. And that's been useful to me while I've been recovering from this concussion, because I can just sit and knit because there's something about it that has clicked. Now for crochet, a couple of years back, one of my best friends, she was crocheting granny square blankets, like a lot of granny square blankets. And I thought they were very, very cool. And every now and again, she would ask me for help and advice because she knew that I was a knitter, but at that stage I wasn't a crocheter. So then a crochet class for adults came up at Fareham House, Fareham Creative Community, and a lovely lady called Tara Lee. Many moons ago, I taught her son and she taught me to crochet. And of course, I made it a competition with myself and I proclaimed myself first in crochet. So that would have been 2000 and it's either 21 or 22. It must be 22 or 23. Okay, this might be the concussion talking. I've been crocheting for at least 2 years, if not a little bit further, maybe 3. What's my favorite thing to crochet? I like making granny hexagon cardigans. They're very cool. I like making amigurumi. Anything that allows me to do spiral crochet, I find really satisfying because it took me a long time to get to knitting in the round, because I don't think knitting in the round was invented other than on double pointed needles when I was a child. So anything that goes around in circles, big fan of doing in crochet. Is that the cat or the dog? Oi! That's the dog trying to eat the cat food. Right, that's one naughty boy dealt with, because he's not going to chase the cat, but the cat would not appreciate him being inside. So I like crocheting amigurumi or anything sort of that allows me to use spiral crochet. For knitting, same thing. I love knitting plushies. I love designing knitting for plushies. There he goes walking past the door. And I thoroughly like knitting socks. I don't think there's anything I don't like knitting or crocheting, to be honest. I have become a bit of a strange loser in that I will knit and crochet pretty much anything that can be knitted and crocheted. If you could only use one yarn for the rest of your life, what would it be? I don't even know if you can get it anymore. What was it called? Silver Linings. And it was a New Zealand made yarn that was incredibly soft. And I think it's got the heritage breed sheep that's got the grey sheep. And I think it had possum. I think. It was incredibly soft and quite hard wearing and just gorgeous to knit with. That was That was lovely, but I don't know if it still exists. So a little bit of a moustache. What else would I? If I could only use one amigurumi yarn, it would be the one from Crochet Me Zaddy, I think. But it probably wouldn't be that if I could be the only one that I could use total. So I think I'm going to go with Cascade Merino, which is a worsted weight yarn, and it had a really cool color range. And it's been really good for crochet and really good for knitting. I made my star blanket that I'll try and link out of it. And I've made so many crochet plushies out of it, and I've made a hat out of it. Like, it's just the nicest. And my book vest was also made out of that yarn. That's a really nice yarn, and it comes in a fantastic range of colours. Right, what's the weirdest thing you've ever made? Well, I am working on a particularly weird project at the moment. Last year I did make some avocado socks, which you put your avocados in so that they ripen evenly. I have made clothes for my dog. He's got a granny square cardigan, and we're working on another one. Not a granny square one, but we're working on another project for him. I've made a star whale and a reverse mermaid, as it's fish on the top and person on the bottom. And I did get a request last year. One of my students asked me to make a chicken nugget, so I made a chicken nugget. And then one of the others said, my birthday's next week, can you make me a hash brown? So I made a hash brown. So pretty much if someone challenges me to something, I like doing it. So I mean, there's that. What's something you'll never crochet? Something I'll never crochet. I don't know, actually. I mean, for the longest time, I probably would have said I won't crochet wearables. I've proved myself wrong there. And then it's like, oh, well, I won't bother crocheting socks. But I do actually have a pattern for crochet socks, and I've signed up on Domestika, I think it is, because they had a course on crocheting socks, but I didn't check that it was in English. So it's very slow going. I started it and then it was like, no, I can't finish it. So it's in Spanish. So maybe socks. But then again, maybe I will crochet socks. My mother did once get given some of those arm covers for your couch that were crocheted. Maybe those. Maybe I won't crochet those. I think there's a lot of answers that there should be about things I won't crochet, but to be honest, I probably will. Where do you get your inspiration? I like the outdoors, and I like sheep. I have pet sheep. I got given some sheep for my birthday, so I like wool in itself. I grew up in a rural community where we didn't have access to a wide range of shops to buy anything. We didn't have access to a wide range of patterns. So it was like, if you wanted something, you made it. And I don't think I've got pictures of my early knits. I know that they're somewhere in a container. And when we move into the house, I'll probably have to find them and see if I can do these are my really old knitting projects for when I was a child, because my mother kept them. So where do I get my inspiration? Who knows? All over the place. Everywhere. Sometimes it's because somebody says, oh, have you thought about such and such? Or I look at something that's crocheted and I think I could knit that. Or I look at something that's knitted and think I could crochet that. Or I just start breaking down the shapes of things. Or I give myself a challenge. Like there's a challenge that I sat down and worked at solidly for 4 days when I was on a knitting retreat. And I've never got around to typing up the instructions, but I was really happy with my final progress, and I've never seen anything like it. So sometimes it's just whatever's in my head and going for it. What's my favourite thing that I've made this past year? What's my favourite thing that I've made this past year? There's a pair of socks that I've made that are the tropical doodle test knit socks. They're really cool. They're orange and they're pink, and yes, hello. They're fantastic. It's a beagle face. What else have I really liked in the last year? My book vest was a big hit, but I think that was more like that was last year. But I've worn it a lot this year. Honestly, trying to think back to everything that's been done. I like my sunflower turtles. I think they've come out really nicely because they've got a double row of flowers. My daffodils, because I knit some daffodils, they're really cool. I think that was within the last year. There's some projects that I haven't finished yet that are high on my list of favourites. I'm making a strawberry cardigan. Lower your expectations. But it's one that's been in my head for so long that one is probably a favourite project. This cardigan I pick up and put on all the time, which has started my cardigan era. And I'm currently working on 2 cardigans at the moment. So it's tough to know what my favourite thing is, but yeah, there's so many. Crochet plans that I'm excited about for the future. Ooh. I've just had arrive and about to film an unboxing of the yarn haul. I am about to start the 6-day Star Supernova blanket with the West Yorkshire Spinners, West Yorkshire, it's Colour Lab? Might be the same thing. Yarns in double knit. So that I'm looking forward to. I made the 6-day star blanket last year, and then I bought the pattern for the Supernova one because I thought that looks like the next step up. So yeah, I'm quite excited to crochet that. What am I excited to knit? I've got a knitting plan to knit Bo Miles, who's an Australian adventure YouTuber. Makes no sense whatsoever. I'm really quite excited to continue working on my knitted and or crocheted Labubu. I've got 2 more on the go, which they're going to be quite different compared to the last one I did. So those sorts of things I'm really excited about. Yeah, there's an ever-growing pile of things. There's also like some crocheted gummy worms, because my nephew last Christmas said that he wanted a bucket of worms for Christmas. So I bought every worm and snake-shaped candy that there was in existence and put it in a bucket. So this year he's going to get a bucket of gummy crocheted worms. So I'm quite excited about sitting down and doing those because they're insane. What's the worst thing about crochet? What's the worst thing about crochet? Wrist pain. So I did myself tendon damage in the garden last year, and I spent summer and most of the first part of this year with a wrist brace, and then still, even now, I will get pain and I have to stop. And I didn't get it from crochet and I didn't get it from knitting, but they're both things that are really challenging. Now that I've got this tendon injury, it's like it's never going to be quite right ever again. I have had carpal tunnel in the past, so I've got dodgy wrists, and I know that I've got arthritis in this thumb. So the worst thing about crochet and knitting is the pain. The other worst thing is when you roll over in the middle of the night and you stab yourself on a needle or a pair of scissors. Losing your knitting needles down the side of the couch. Crochet hooks that fall in the gap between the car and the centre console of the car. These are all such really specific Juanita problems. What's my favourite thing about crochet? Well, my favourite thing about crochet, I like the way things form. I think it's really different to knitting. And it's a fun project to think about shapes in that way. The other fun thing about crochet is if you're sitting down, this is crochet or knitting actually, if you're sitting in public and you're working on something, it's a conversation starter. It's like walking around with this doofus anywhere. People stop and talk because people get excited about things. And if they knit and crochet, they want to stop and talk about knitting and crochet. I went to the Wairarapa Wool weekend, and sat down in a cafe and strangers came up and sat with me, and we all sat there and we talked about yarn, and we talked about knitting, and we talked about crochet, and we built up a community, and it didn't matter that we didn't know who each other was. Yeah, so it's that kind of thing that I really like. And who am I going to nominate to pass this on to? I've got 4 people here, and I've tried to go with 4 people who are spread across the world. Have I spread them across the world? I think I've spread them across the world. I don't know how well I've spread them across the world, but we'll see. Alice Pepper. Now, I don't know if Alice Pepper crochets, but Alice Pepper knits, and Alice Pepper has some of the coolest colour combinations, and she's just got such a great style. So Alice Pepper, I'm tagging Alice Pepper. Michelle Jasic, or Jasic, I don't know if I'm butchering your name, sorry babes, but yeah, she's renovated this camper, and she makes the coolest retro-inspired crochet projects. She's into Stranger Things and the 70s vibes and orangey browny colour schemes. I mean, it's quite a different colour schemes to how I use my oranges, because I don't use brown, gross. I'm using neutrals. But honestly, she's such a vibe. Her duck vest, 10 out of 10. 10 out of 10. I think she's terrific. And then Mama Wench, because Mama Wench, she has these morning live streams. I don't know if they're morning where she is, but they're morning where I am. And occasionally I come across them, and she's just a hoot. And she'll sit and she'll crochet and she'll chat. And she's just got this great big heart. She's always crocheting, and she's always seeming to be crocheting to either fundraise for somebody else or help somebody else out, or she's right there with advice. She's right there with this really happy community of people who just hang out and have fun. And that crochet guy, because that crochet guy, when I started making a crochet bag a while back, he was making all of these cool bags. Like, we're talking cool. So you think designer, high-end bag, and then he's making them out of crochet. And it's not like he's just doing knockoff or replicas. He's doing some cool shapes, and they're interesting and they're fun, and they're not how I would normally be associating crochet. So they're my 4 people: Alice Pepper, Michelle Jasic or Jasic, Mama Wench, and that crochet guy. Those are my peeps. I'm passing the tag on to you. And for the rest of you, I will see you next week. Bye.